to this edition of Optimal Talks. In this series of frank conversations, I will chat to a diverse range of security specialists and industry influencers to explore their opinions and ideas, picking apart some of the key issues we all face today. I hope you enjoy the next 30 minutes. If you do, leave us your thoughts and comments and spread the word. Thanks. Hello everybody, welcome back to another Optimal Talks. Today I'm joined by Shaun, who is probably well known to many of you, has been prolific on LinkedIn just recently, and I'm taking a lot, Shaun, from the posts you put out, the questions that you were asking. I love that way of approaching your topic. You have a lot of experience, but there may be some people listening that don't know you. So why don't you just introduce yourself for us?
Hi Rick, thank you anyway for having me. Great to be on board.
Yeah.
So my background, I'm a former British Paratrooper who then became a bodyguard, initially working out in hostile environments such as Iraq, Afghanistan, them sort of places, and really enjoyed my time out there, worked with some great people. It was at one point where I had my second child, who was a daughter, and I decided I was going to come back, work in the UK, and so I flew back from there, come back, started working for different companies within the UK, and I set up my own business, Shaun West Associates, which became very successful. I had that since 2011, 12, and up until last year, a year and a half ago, that business was going great, and then got hit by the Russian sanctions, unfortunately, where my prime client base was Russian oligarchs. So that hit the business quite hard. I'd lost 90% of the business overnight. So at that point, I stepped away, started working for other companies, and whilst doing that, I've always had a passion for coaching and helping other people, helping them progress. And so I set on coaching accreditation, done lots of training surrounding coaching, and thought I'd set out, because in the security industry, I've never seen, you see lots of training companies, you see lots of companies offering different courses, but I've never seen anyone putting themselves out there as a coach who help businesses grow and people develop their careers. And I don't know if that's because there's no market or because people don't want it, but I guess that's what I'm about to find out. And separate to the background we've just been speaking about, I also am a director of the British Bodyguard Association and produce the industry-leading Circuit magazine, which is a labour of love for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, and I can empathise with that. I think this is really interesting. We will dig into this as well, because I do believe that part of coaching and mentoring and mindset is about, accepting that sometimes things don't go the way you want, and your personal resilience and how you bounce back from that with a positive mindset. I think mindset is absolutely key, and we're definitely going to explore that, because what you've just depicted for us very succinctly is probably the first golden nugget that people can take away. Stuff doesn't always go your way, right?
Exactly that. You've got to get down, dust yourself off, and go again. And I think that's something I've been quite fortunate to have. Even in the army, I've always had quite a strong mindset, and I think that's probably been built up through being in the parachute regiment. You get told you're the best, you're better than all of the rest, and all of this stuff, and them lessons, they hit home. And you get a lot of people who leave and carry that on, but they might not carry it on and channel it in the correct way. Instead of using what you have learned, channel it in the correct way, and use it to advance yourself and advance your career and business, wherever that may be.
So you've set up this sort of mindset business now. So do you where do you get your inspiration from, and the tools that you use? Where are these coming from predominantly?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of tools you can use in coaching, traditional coaching methods and techniques that you learn along the way. But a lot of it, and the lessons I pass on and teach, coach people with as well, is lessons learned through, I guess, time served in the industry, time being a business owner, time working with people and leading people. There's a lot of lessons we get, but also doing the coaching and going back over that, it's been great to work with people in different industries and get the lessons from other industries, which we can bring in here as well, which is really valuable.
So here's a curveball now. So going back to your journey, who have you relied upon for sort of your coaching over the years? I mean, who have been the inspirations for you?
I think, without dropping names on here, because I don't want to embarrass people or things like that.
But it's all positive. It's good. It's good. I mean, we're here to share, and if somebody's been good for you, we all have mentors. I have mentors. I think it's really important. But you know, we all start somewhere, and we always get a foot up from somebody else, don't we? And this is what you're offering now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I came back to the UK, I think one of the companies I started doing a lot of work for at the time was Team Fusion, you know, a company in the UK.
Yeah.
And the managing director at the time, Bob Taylor, you know, he was a great guy. He put a lot of trust in me. And what I liked when I worked for them, there was the trust. When you give the role you were given, you were left alone to do it. You were given the trust to do it in your own way, and you deliver it to the best of your ability. You put an invoice in, you get paid like that, and they invested in you and put you on different courses and different training that would help advance you in your career. And I think when I set up my own business, the lessons I learned from working for them at that time, that's how I model my business. I would employ good people, put them in good positions, pay them well, and invest in them with training, not just money. And what I find with that is, when you treat people correctly, they actually want to work for you. It's not a case of just coming in and do the job, get the money and go home. They actually, you know, they believe in you and your mission, the mission of your company.
I think this is the you know, transactional leadership versus transformational leadership, and what you've just described as transformational leadership, which, you know, we're both career military. I think we always learn best from transformational leaders, the people you want to work hard for, because they're the sort of people that give their trust into you and you want to do a good job for them. So, you know, you could employ somebody and say, right, do this job, I'm going to pay you for it, and that's it. You know, nothing else. Transformational transcends that. Yeah. You'll get paid, but that person wants to work for you. They want to come back and work for you again. And I think that's a really big lesson for anybody that's starting a business, that's employing people, or even subcontracting entities. You know, you do what you say you'll do. You treat them well, but you value what they bring to the party, because otherwise, why would you have employed them? And they want to come back and do it again and again. And then they tell their friends that this is a good organization to work for. And I think that's something that the mentoring side of things can definitely capitalize on, because we have a lot of people like that in the industry, a lot of good leaders. But then we also have a lot of people that are very transactional as well. And if you're a sole trader or a one-man limited company and you're subcontracting, you want to avoid one. And I would strongly recommend you look for the transformational leaderships, because there are a lot of challenges to a security career. So, I mean, what are the common challenges that you've been coming across in helping people build their careers?
I think a lot of the things that I've came across since I've got into the coaching realm of things, there's a lot of people, I guess, burn out. They don't know how to manage their time. They're used to working, you know, getting up. They're still working for other people because their business hasn't grown to a point where they rely on that as a sole income. So they're putting in hours with whoever they're working for. They're working into the night on their own business separate from that. There's a lot of, I guess, imposter syndrome as well, with people who are transitioning roles from, they're working for a company and they want to start their own company, or they're in a position for a company and they get promoted into a leadership position where they think, shit, I don't have the knowledge to do that job. Yeah. So there's a lot of that, you know, imposter syndrome. Can I do that? Do I have the skills to do that? Am I good enough? And there's a lot of that where I guess the security industry it's a very alpha male industry. You know, there's a lot of ex-military there. So I'm ex-paratrooper, ex-special, whatever it may be. And you find a lot of guys and girls, they're scared to reach out and ask for help. They think maybe this is a stupid question, and they're scared to ask.
Do you know what? I think we've all had that, and honestly, sometimes it's unfounded. imposter syndrome, and there are people there that would say fake it till you make it, or fake it till you become it, is something I saw on a TED talk once, which was very inspirational, because actually you have a lot to offer, and all of us have different things to offer, and it could be leadership management, it could be a very specialist skill set in a different discipline, but mindset is, mindset coaching is what you are now offering. So how do we overcome the mindset? Because you can have a pessimistic mindset or an optimistic mindset. So how do you change somebody's mindset?
Well, going back to something you just said before that, you mentioned fake it till you make it. And I'd rephrase it a different way, and I'd say be it until you see it, because I think as soon as you say fake it, it's a negative statement. And I think what we need to start doing is looking at things in a more positive light. Your brain can only it kind of compute negative thoughts. Your mind is going to go, your focus is going to go where your mind is. So if you're sat in a job now, and if you come to me and you say, and ask you, Rick, what do you want?
Yeah.
You say, Shaun, I don't want to be sat in this job in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this dead-end career in 5 years' time. And I'm going to say to you, Rick, that's great. You've told me what you don't want. Now tell me what you do. And I think if you're focusing on, you're in that job and you're stuck there, you're going to get a whole lot more of that. And you're going to go to work every day, and that's what you're focusing on. You're not looking outside, lifting your head up above the trenches and think, what's out there? What can I get? And I think that's what a lot of people do. They focus on the negative instead of just flipping that switch. You start thinking, what could I be doing? Start thinking about what you do want and not what you don't.
No, I think that's really sound advice, and if nothing else comes out of this, that would be the takeaway. I'm a big advocate of surrounding yourself with people that are like the person you want to become, right? So I mean, our mindset can be relating to our workplace, but also about what we want in our lives, and you can apply these things to personal life as much as your professional life, I think, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, let's speak goal setting. People set up their business, and 6 weeks down the line, and they sat there and think, I've got no clients, I've got no income coming in. What will I do? And a lot of people, they roll over pretty quickly, and they stop, and then I'm not bringing in the money. I'm going to continue working for other people, and they put to bed that dream of what they've set to set that business up, instead of thinking, right, I've set this business up, Rick Mountfield Limited. When the income's not coming in, you think, why is it not coming in? What do I need to do to get that income? And I can speak to you, and you might say, but I've done everything. I've tried everything. I say, have you really tried everything? And literally just a question like that, it starts hitting a different part of the brain. They start thinking, well, no, actually, I haven't. I could be doing this, or I could be doing that. But what else could you do? And once your brain gets in that mindset, you start getting momentum, and then you get someone to hold you accountable, and start cracking the whip and start ticking off them goals and getting it to where you need to be.
I think that's really relevant as well. There are if you have a negative mindset. And I mean, I've talked to people before that have been putting out things on on Twitter or on LinkedIn even, that I've got a lot of transferable skills, I've got a lot of experience, and I've got all these courses, and yet no one's employing me. What is it? I'm more qualified than everybody, and yet nobody's employing me. You keep putting that stuff out, and that's what people associate with you. Yeah,
100%. I mean, instead of thinking, I've got all of these skills and I can put them to good use, how can I put them to good use?
Yeah.
Start targeting the companies who use that set of skills, who need that set of skills, and start targeting them. Get your CV done, get your LinkedIn done, get it done professionally. It's a very competitive market at the moment.
Yes.
Get it done professionally. Don't do it if you don't have the IT skills. Get someone to do it. Don't try and do it yourself. And start reaching out to these companies. Get your CV in and follow up. A lot of people, same as what we were just talking about their business, they'll send CVs, they don't get a response, and then they stop. Instead of phoning up, hi Rick, I sent you my CV last week. Would you mind jumping on the call? And
yeah.
And I think, a lot of times, you tell me yourself, I guess with Optimal, you'll get hundreds of CVs, and I've had the same with my business. You, at that point when you need somebody, there might be someone that's been on the list for 6 months, but you might just get a call that day. That says, "Hi, I sent you my CV," and it just falls at that perfect time. So I think you have to do them follow-ups.
Putting yourself, your brand, your personal brand, and it is personal brand. Especially if you're a small business, your brand is you, right? Because you said it earlier on. People buy people. We hear this all the time, but what does it mean exactly?
I think in the security industry, you are your own brand. And when I set up as a coach, I was thinking, my niche. Who do I help? Who do I want to help? And I thought of leaving the security industry and just going into coaching and coaching people in all sorts of businesses, entrepreneurs. That's where I've got a passion in. But I thought my another passion, which I've lived so many years, is in the security industry, and I've got so much that I can offer there. And so I thought my I help statement as such was I help security professionals. And when I talk security professionals, in many other industries, you have a career path that's an employed career path, or you have your own business, right? If we're talking, my background is a executive protective agent operator.
Yeah.
You kind of nip in and out of employment. You work for other people. You're wearing different hats. And I think, so even if you're on an employed path, you're still your own brand, because how you represent yourself there is going to serve you in your next role as well, or in your business.
What do you recommend then? If you had the top 3 traits for personal brand, what would I, as I'm a qualified CPO, I'm setting up on my own now. I want to put my brand out so that more businesses like Optimal Risk and so on would employ me. Then what 3 things should I be focusing on in my personal brand that will be attractive to businesses?
I think in the security industry, certainly and I'm going to go back to myself here as an example, because
yes,
I consider myself a security professional. I worked for many years and I've sold myself as Shaun West, as my brand. And the thing that I'm getting over at the moment is, as a close protection operator, it's frowned upon to put yourself out there. Everything's, but you're not getting photographs of yourself on a super yacht, private jet, whatever it may be. And a lot of people, and what I've had to get my head around is, now that's not what I'm doing. I've become a coach. And to do that, I need to get a message out there and tell people what I'm doing. So when you're a security professional, it's very different. You're doing things, I guess, almost by stealth. You're not advertising yourself doing different roles you're doing, but I think setting yourself up a professional profile on the likes of LinkedIn, joining professional groups, and start getting engaged in conversations. If you're targeting, say, Optimal Risk or whatever company you may be targeting, look at their page, like their posts, engage with their posts, and start adding value. Then reach out.
Yeah, that positivity. I think taking time to consider your answer and then putting out something that is valuable to anybody that's reading your comment without detracting from somebody else's or arguing, listening, I think, to other people's point of views on things, but putting your point across quietly and confidently is a really strong way of building your own personal brand as somebody that talks common sense. And giving, not being parochial with your information, because sharing is caring. And when you give your opinion, it needs to be worthwhile, not just talking for the sake of talking, which I see sometimes think, what's your point you're making? Because you're just throwing a comment in to be in that thread, but it doesn't add value to the conversation. I think too many people don't think about what they're writing, or they're very strong opinions about something, which might rub some other people up the wrong way because you've worded it in a different way, or in a very one-sided way.
Yeah, and I think you've got to consider what you're putting out there. And going back to myself as an example, I'm putting myself out there now. It's the first time I've done this, it's new to me. But what I'm very conscious of, what I'm putting out is professional. I'm adding value. I'm helping people. I'm not going to just jump into Rick's inbox and say, give me a job or buy this from me. And I think when you frame that into being a protection officer, it's the same sort of thing. If you are getting involved, you don't just say, give me a job. You're adding value yourself, and people see, oh, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. He's going to networking events. You can actually see them in person, and that someone who takes the time and makes the effort to travel to these events and tries to grow themselves and add value themselves, it goes a long way.
It says to me, when people turn up at conferences like the CP conference, the CP World Conference, the ones that Phelan puts out, that Mike compares on, that says that's somebody that is investing in themselves. That's professional development, right? So if you were, and honestly, I want to say as well that, you know, if breeding positivity through LinkedIn raises your profile and gives a good perception, you've already made a success of that with your new business, because enough people came to me to say, look, have you seen all this stuff that Shaun's putting out? And I had seen it because there was a lot of it, and it was all really positive, and it was giving away free advice for people. It made an impression that people say, you know, it'd be good to interview Shaun. So that's, you know, you've really epitomized what you're saying people should be doing. You did it yourself with your new business, so you know, I congratulate you on that. How did you set your goals when you started this business? And I know that goal setting is one of the key threads that you help people with. Let's look at how goal setting can help people make those 101% improvements, and how did you set yourself your goals for your new business?
Yeah, I guess for me it was, I don't know, it's pretty ballsy when I'm stepping away from what I'm doing, where I make my bread and butter, to literally step away and do what I'm doing. And when I started doing the coaching accreditations, I looked at security, to put it in terms of, I don't know, let's say soldiering. You know, you're in Afghanistan, and if you can't see the target, you're not going to hit the target, right?
Yeah.
You pull the trigger and it's on automatic. You're doing the whole Afghan spray and pray. You're never going to hit that target. And what I find is, set your target, know what your target's going to be. And for me, I want to be a successful coach that helps people working in the industry, helps them grow their business. And I know I can do that. So I've set a time period of where I can make this a success. I start putting myself out there. And when I say a success, you got to put and we'll not talk metrics or anything like that, but I think you've got to have the language in which you speak to yourself is also very important. And I'll go into that, where if I say to Rick, oh, how are you? And you go, yeah, I'm a business owner in the security industry. I think if you just look at that, and people who are having a business and they start struggling and they just, I've got my own business, but they're not excited by it, I think that's going to affect your beliefs and the belief cycle, where if you think, oh, I'm not going to be a success, that directly determines the amount of action that you're going to take. Yeah. And if you aren't taking that consistent action, you're not going to get the results, right? And then when you get the results, that increases your self-belief and your confidence. So with my goal setting, I've set my target of where I want to hit, and I looked at myself and I looked at my business. I looked at the resources I've got, and that's the internal resources, such as, I don't know, confidence, resource I've built internally, to my external resources, which is my network, finances that I've got. And I was fortunate enough to build enough up in my business prior to the sanctions that's allowed me a cushion to try and make this work. And then I look at the obstacles, what would stop me from being a success, and then I pick them off one by one. You know, one of the things I've always struggled with, something I'm working on at the moment, is public speaking. It's put me in front of the Taliban any day, but put me in front of a crowd, and you know, the fear of that is, it's immense for me. It's something that, but I am conscious that now I'm in a new realm, and what I'm doing, it's something I need to tackle, because that's going to bring me business as well. If you're talking at events, so I knew that was a barrier for me, putting myself out there. So the only way to get past these fears and obstacles is to expose yourself to it
Yeah.
And I think when we talk fears, I think that there's a mnemonic for that, which is called, which is fear. False evidence appears real. So the false evidence might be, Shaun, you're a public speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it false? Why is it true? Why is it? And you've got to start finding evidence that makes it correct.
Yeah.
I say, look, I'm speaking with you, Rick, now. It's going well. You know,
Yeah.
people might like this talk, they might not.
Yeah.
But then when you start putting yourself out there and drip feeding the exposure, then you start building, you get evidence that, yeah, I can do this. And then that starts shutting down the old belief that you used to have. And you start embracing what you're doing by taking the action. And you can, you review, yeah, it went really well, but I could improve on this. And then I'll go on to the next thing, I'll improve that.
Yeah.
And I'll get that nailed. And then I'll go to the next obstacle, which could be, I don't know, I'm not getting enough clients. How can I improve on that?
Yeah.
So then I'll work out ways I can do that, and I'll just one by one, I'll tick them off. I'll set small goals that I can take every day consistently towards making the business a success.
I think for me the secret to public speaking is knowing your shizzle inside out. You don't talk about things you're not an expert in. The word expert is kind of a misnomer, and I'm not a big fan of it. But if you're not a specialist in the topic, then don't offer yourself up to speak about it. But if you are, like business ownership, business growth, to a successful business owner, then you know what, you can look at that and go, I do know what I'm talking about. And the people in this audience are, maybe some of them have been as successful as me, but I know that I'm talking to you about what worked for me, and it did work, because the evidence is here. I've built a successful business. But you have to be prepared to have failures as well, because if you're not prepared to take a risk on failure, then you're not going to succeed. You can't, if you're not in the game, then you can't succeed. And I've given presentations, I like 300 people, and then one year at security event, I put a lot of effort into writing a presentation about career development, and I think I had four students in. I was doing all this work for 4 students. You've got to accept sometimes, it's not going to work out the way you wanted it to work out, but that's okay. I did it for those 4 people, and they got a lot from it, and they came and saw me afterwards, and they joined the institute, and so that's 4 people. So what? It's still practice, if nothing else. It's a delivery of practice, and you deliver it, whether it's for 300 or for 1 person, you do it exactly the same way, and that's what you become known for.
Yeah, and the only way you're going to get confidence is in it. Just to do it, unfortunately, and confidence comes through confidence. Or confidence comes through confidence, and the only way to do it is to expose yourself to it and keep doing it. And I think if going into, I'm talking public speaking because that's one of my challenges, but it could be any challenge. If I go into a public speaking scenario, and there's a thing called the emotional triad, where there's three peaks to the triangle, and a lot of people go in and they go, if they start imagining, I'm walking in, I'm going to make a mess of this. Everyone's going to hate me. It's going to be shit. You're defeating yourself before you go in, and it's that self-talk. Instead of going in there and saying, yeah, I'm going to own this, and adopt that body posture and just nail it.
Yes.
You can be that person. You can switch it on. I mean, confidence, everyone's got confidence. They may think they haven't, but when you look back to when you were a child, when you played for a football team or whatever it might be, you'll have that confidence. It's just an emotion that you can turn on, and just learn how to switch that on within yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really important, and you do have to have that self-belief. But then again, it's about who you surround yourself with as well, that bolster you, and that could be family, it could be co-workers, friends. Running the ideas past them, practicing on them. Practice. If you're delivering presentation, that's a storytelling a presentation, which is a really strong way of getting your message across. Know your story inside out. Know who your protagonist is, and what is the underlying story, the lesson that you're delivering in a story. It's you have to believe it, and if you don't believe in yourself, then other people won't believe in you either.
No, exactly.
mindset is everything. So if we were to share some tips or advice, what would be your go-tos for this presentation to give people a taste of what they'll get if they call you up?
No, I think what people need in the security industry, a lot of people, they get into a job, they settle in a job, and they may be in a security team, and it's like exactly what you said. Who you surround yourself with is what you're going to become. What you achieve is a direct action of the action that you take. And I think you need to be open to growth, self-improvement, and you need to recognize that success, it extends beyond just getting the next management qualification or ticking the box. You need to channel that, decide, make a decision where you want to be, whether that's, I want to be in a leadership position with an energy company or whatever that may be, or you've got your business and you want, your business turnover £1 million and you want it to turn 5. Start thinking, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I currently? I'm at a 3. Okay, so how do I make that a 5? And start looking at what you can do, small improvements. And that's all you need to do, reach for the next number. How can I get to 5? And start ticking them things off consistently, small goals, and you'll get them. Once you get to a 5, you start getting the momentum, you start owning it, and go, right, how now can I get to a 6 or an 8? And if you don't do that, you're never going to get anywhere. You'll come in on you'll finish your day's task, you'll put the telly on, you'll watch Netflix or whatever it may be, and then your security career for a bodyguard, I'm talking bodyguard because that was my background, is relatively short. What are the chances of you being a bodyguard at 60-year-old? I'm sure that there's many people in good shape, so you need to start thinking about your future. What's next for you, for your business, for your career? Do you want to stay in the security industry? If so, how can you be in a role that's going to give you longevity? Is that in employment and you start targeting a career position? Or if you have your own business, it's how can you make that work and start setting your goals, what you want to achieve, and start trying to tick them off, be committed to the process. Taking small actions every day.
It is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't swallow the elephant whole, as they say. You've got to break it into bite-sized, manageable pieces, and that could be. I mean, that has to be. You gain that in experience, but that's really the experience part is in the hands of somebody else that's taking a risk on you because they think that you have something that they can invest in. But you also can hedge your bets with education, right? There is a lot out there that's free, like going to a conference and listening to that for a day, to doing a non-accredited course, to a webinar, to an accredited course, to a degree, to a PhD if you want. I mean, everybody's got their threshold, but you've got to look at whether you have the time to do it, whether you have financial resources, and finding those opportunities to grow, personal growth in your chosen mindset, your chosen discipline of security. And I say that because I see security like I see engineering. We have you could be a civil engineer and you're a chartered engineer, and I'm a chartered engineer, but I build circuit boards for computers. We're very different. I've got my path, you've got your path, we have the same qualification. Don't try and do everything. Find what you have a passion in and then do that, because if you're interested in it, you'll do it a lot better.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said there as well. There is so many qualifications and you can tick everything off, but if you've got a focus and that's the position I want, or that's where I want my business to be, take the path to there. Your path might change, but if you're doing this qualification, that qualification, your ladder is propped against the wrong wall. You're going to waste time, energy, finances, and you might not get there. Instead of just focusing on that and taking small, consistent action every day in your decisions, get up with a focus. Think, right, what am I going to do today? Even if it's a small thing, you're working for somebody else. What can I do today? I can reach out to 5 people, 5 companies to say they want my services. Yeah. I can join 3 groups and start actively engaging. Giving positive value. what is there anybody that I can collaborate with who maybe I offer executive protection services? It may be someone wants canine services, so you make a collaboration with them, and you'll go further. It's not it is a competitive industry, but you get a lot further by collaborating and making relationships.
That's such an interesting perspective, because I think one of the strengths in optimal risk, what we've recognized is collaboration is really important, and actually associating yourself again with strong leaders or strong capabilities in different sectors that you're not particularly strong in is a really good way of accelerating. You could spend money training to be a canine dog handler, but you don't have the experience. So don't waste your time and your money. Talk to somebody that has that skill set, and then work with them, and they can glean off you, and you glean off them, and you get a contract that's got consultancy and there's dog handling. Then now you're getting a percentage of what their contract is, but that's an amount of something is worth than 100% of nothing.
Yeah, and I think another I guess golden nugget which I found is take imperfect action. Stop being a perfectionist. Stop trying to do everything yourself, and you might be thinking, I need to do that. It needs to look like this before I release it, or before I go to the next level. You'll sit there for 6 weeks trying to perfect that, and somebody's came in and taken that role or that position. Imperfect action. I think that's gives you more progress, as opposed to bring in, if you can't do a website, get a web designer. Stop trying to do everything yourself. Think speed, agility, get your business moving.
This is why I don't do DIY, mate. I'm an absolute failure at DIY, and I'd rather work harder, save money, and get somebody in to do it right the first time. And I'll show you this. Not many people have seen this, Shaun. I keep this here as a strong example to not do things I don't do well. And this is a piece of copper pipe from my upstairs, right? And I don't know if you can see that, but that's the little hole that I put in that water pipe because I was trying to nail down one of my floorboards before the carpet fitter came, and I was using shit tools, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I hit the pipe and ended up with a misty spray coming through just the evening before the carpet fit was coming. So I had to go and get a friend of mine who had the cutters and cut it all out, and he fixed it for me. But I keep it because it's a constant reminder to me to not try and do things that I'm not good at. Get somebody in that is good at that. And I think it's a really good, this for me is my metaphor for that aspect. It's my biggest failure is that I joined the army at 16 and no one ever taught me how to do DIY. And now I realize I'm just too old to start that. So I bring people in to do it that are better at it than I am. And I think in our industry, you might be great at executive protection, but not so great at security surveying or risk management or cyber security. Then bring someone in, because if I meet, and I meet a lot of people, if I meet somebody and they're like, I can do that for you. I can do your cyber security. I can do your security culture, personnel security. I can do your screening and searching. I'm like, hang on a minute. You're doing everything. Nobody can do everything. That's just not possible. There is no one person in our industry that can do every discipline of security. It's just, if they say they can, they're lying, or they're doing it really badly.
Yeah, by making these new relationships with people who offer services externally, it's a force multiplier as well. You can offer more services to your clients.
Yeah.
If you've got them relationships, make them work.
There's knowing where your failures are, which is really important. Knowing where your weaknesses are is really important. But then there are the unknowns, right? The things that you don't know that you don't know, if that makes sense. We hear about these known unknowns and unknown unknowns. Now, if somebody doesn't realize that their weakness is in their presentation skills or the way they come across in networking, let's talk about networking, because I see it all the time. I'll see it tomorrow at the International Security Expo. People will come in and we'll have the networking drinks in the evening, and people will stay with the people they know. They don't have the confidence to step into a conversation ring and say, hey, I'm Rick, how are you doing? And, tell me about yourself, and then listen to that other person telling you what they do, because people like to talk about themselves, and then eventually they'll say, and what about you? When they've run out of things to say, they'll ask you, and then you get the floor. That networking skills is something that we are generally pretty bad at as a whole.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, and I guess that's something I consider myself a good networker. I've got a good network through the Bodyguard Association, and a lot of people, like employed people, work. But traditionally, I've been very shy and introverted as I've grown up, and that's what struggle with the public speaking. So I can definitely resonate with that, going to the events and sticking to the people And so I've had to step out with that as well. But definitely, I think people aren't going to bite you. They're not going to. Get out there. There's some good people out there who can help you, and if you don't talk to them, then you're never going to know.
Right, and this is the point I was getting to. So, people that don't know, where their capability could be, using somebody like you as a coach mentor that can relay your experiences to help people avoid pitfalls that you've been through. You've set up a successful business. You had all your clients in one dynamic. Who was to know that was coming? You take that hit, then you get somebody that started their own business. First thing you say is, just have Russians as clients, have some other cultures involved, and diversify. There's lessons that can be learned from having somebody that is a coach that's got a lot of experience, that can bring that to you and accelerate your development, and your progress is accelerated because you're bouncing ideas off somebody that has been where you are and will help you avoid those pitfalls.
Absolutely. And I think if I'd have had that, I knew. So I guess as a one-man band business, which I grew my business from zero to turning over 2 million plus a year as a lone operator, which is really successful. And I thought to myself, why do I need to look outside of that box? I was just going to bring some more stress, more. What I should have been doing is thinking, stop being down in the weeds of the business, step out, become an owner, not an operator. Get someone else, get a business development manager, and start. You've got the finances there. Get someone going out to bring in more clients. So when the hammer blow comes, you can absorb it more. And I was just in a fortunate position that I've run the business for a number of years, which has allowed me to, I guess, absorb that blow. But certainly, you've always got to think, have in the back of your mind. There's several things over the last few years that have came and hit business: COVID, sanctions, Brexit, whatever it may be. You may think you're in a job for life, or you've got a contract for life. Shit happens. The world happens. Events happen. So as solid as you think you are, you've got to make that foundation more solid, because that's what's going to save you.
And I think that, from what I've learned is there's two ways to do that. You take your, and I didn't make this up, by the way, I got this from the Cranfield University course that I did, but it absolutely is true. You take your existing services, things that you do well, and you take it to a new market. New people, new industries, but that means you have to network, you have to promote yourself, and there's marketing, like you said. Or you take, you go to the existing market you've got and you offer them new services, things that you are aware of. And this is really where you're at now. You're bringing a new service to your existing network, and I think you'll be a success because people know your personal brand is very strong. And so people will trust straight away because they know that you've had a successful business career and that you can help them. And that's the trust piece, comes from knowing that you've done it. You've done what they want to do very successfully, and they will accelerate their progress by using somebody like you.
Yeah, and I think what you said is right there. I think when you do put yourself out there, so even if you have a business, I think we spoke about this before we came on, people buy from people. You might have your company, I don't know, Shield, please disregard this, I'm not talking about any company, but for example, I don't know, Spartan Protection Limited. If you keep putting stuff out, there's no personality there. It's just a business firing out information. When Rick Mountfield starts putting out, adding value, not asking for money, not asking for business. You just adding value to people, and they look and they see you're associated with optimal risk. And when you've got your other directors doing the same, it's planting seeds.
Yeah.
People see you, they like you, and they want to work with you. And it's not ramming the business down people's throats. Of course, you've got your business and you advertise your business, but
yeah,
there's a lot of, people buy from people. And I think another tip which I've found certainly with the coaching is, I think you can advertise as a business and you can advertise as an individual. When you've got your personal page and your personal profile, it's free. You're on social networks, LinkedIn, you can put out whatever you want, you can keep going. If you want to promote your business page, you're going to have to pay for advertising to get any real traction. But when you're consistently putting stuff out on your personal, then it's adding value to people. And I think a lot of people have, certainly in the security industry, barriers to say, I don't want to post on Facebook or something like that. And I had that honestly for so many years, and that's a barrier that I've just kind of kicked down. And you've got to start thinking, you're advertising your business, right? And I say, I'm putting out business and mindset coaching. If I'm on Facebook and you're putting out that to your mum, your dad, your grandmother, they don't want to buy business mindset coaching. So what I would be telling businesses to do, or individuals, is start filling your room. That's what I call it. You've got 100 connections, start going into the groups and start adding people. When you're contributing in these groups, start adding them, making them friends. So when you start posting these things, your room is filled with people that information is relevant to. And I think that's really strong. Start filling them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our industry is full of specialists, people that give great advice, keeping people safe all the time, every single minute of every single day. What we are less adept at is business and understanding business. And I think that starting up an advisory business like this is a really smart move, and I've no doubt it will be a success. If people want to talk to you after watching this, what's your email address, and we'll put it up across the bottom.
So we'll go with the website first of all. It's www.shaunwest.co. That's Shaun West is SHAUN WEST, and that's .co, not .com, not .co.
That's a differentiator in itself.
Yeah, and also it'd be great if you could. What I'm working on at the moment is trying to grow my LinkedIn profile, supporting other businesses. And if you give me a follow, that would be great. We could put my LinkedIn blurb in the show notes. That would be great.
It's all there along the bottom. So I think we'll sort of we'll be to a wrap now. Sure, I like to try to keep these around 45 minutes or so. I know we could talk for hours about this. And I really wish you all the best. I think it's an inspired move. I love the stuff you're posting on LinkedIn now. I follow it without a doubt. I gain a lot from it, and I know probably a lot of other people will be as well. So thanks very much. Any closing pearls that you have right now?
No, I think just set a target. Your career is not a long one in the security industry. You're not going to be a bodyguard at 60, so start thinking outside the box. Where do you want to be when you are 60? You're not going to be pulling money as a bodyguard. So are you creating your own business? Are you becoming a consultant? Are you becoming a security leader? Set your goals. Maybe it's leaving the security industry. Just set a goal where you want to be and start taking small, consistent actions every day towards achieving that. And I think that's a good bit of advice to take away.
Definitely. Shaun, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much for taking the time to talk to me. I wish you all the best, mate, and I'll see you, no doubt, in person soon enough.
I'm sure we will. Take care.
Thanks, mate.